It moves from anticipatory tension to eye-rolling, and then it moves to absurdity. Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. This is a book that came out in 2023 from Entangled Publishing. It is a fantasy book. It is actually a romantasy. So I went into this book blind. I saw some posts about it on Bookstagram and was like, oh, that sounds cool. I didn't realize it was a romance. I thought it was like a cozy fantasy with like a romance angle to it. But when I got through the first chapter, it became pretty obvious that it's a romance. And I was like, all right, fine. I like romance once in a while. Thing is, I didn't particularly like the romance in this book. In fact, there wasn't a lot I did like about this book. This is going to be a rare book review where I really did not like the book. If you follow my channel, you'll know that this is true. I'm not just making this up. I tend to really like pretty much everything I read because I'm very discerning when it comes to picking books that I read. If you are new to my channel, sorry, this is going to be something a little different. Most of my book reviews, I'm very, very nice, and I'm actually very, very, enthusiastic. But in this one, I'm going to be a bit enthusiastic about what I didn't like. And I know some people like these kind of things, so it's going to be kind of fun, something different. I don't think the author is a bad writer. I think that this book, a lot of people who like romantasy, I think, would enjoy it. This book solidifies for me why I don't like romantasy generally. And, here's why. But first I'll tell you what the book's about. Assistant wanted. Notorious high-ranking villain seeks loyal, level-headed assistant for unspecified office duties, supporting staff for random mayhem, terror, and other dark things in general. Discretion a must, excellent benefits. With ailing family to support, Evie Sage's employment status isn't just important, it's vital. So when a mishap with Renadon's most infamous villain results in the job offer, naturally she says yes. No job is perfect, of course, but even less so when you develop a teeny crush on your terrifying, temperamental, and undeniably hot boss. Don't find evil so attractive, Evie. But just when she's getting used to severed heads suspended from the ceiling and the odd squish of an errant eyeball beneath her heel, Evie suspects this dungeon has a huge rat, and not just the literal kind, because something rotten is growing in the kingdom of Renadon, and someone wants to take the villain and his entire nefarious empire out. Now Evie must not only resist drooling over her boss, but also figure out exactly who is sabotaging his work, and ensure he makes them pay. After all, a good job is hard to find. Yeah, so that's what I get for not reading, the jacket copy. I just saw the reviews, as I said, talking about it, and I grabbed it on Audible, and I dove right in. My bad, everybody. One of the issues with the book I had might have been with the narrator. The way she said certain words sort of grated on me. And I know, it's not hypocritical, because I know a lot of people find how I talk kind of annoying, and I literally don't care. But I basically had to turn this book up to 1.6 speed, or whatever it is, to get rid of that sort of nasalness she had to certain words. Like, she drew them out, and I was like, ugh. I don't know, I just didn't like it. No offense to her, but I just was like, not my jam. Now, before I get into what I didn't like, what did I like about this book? The friendship between the characters was very enjoyable. In fact, that was probably why I kept reading, because I really liked Blaze, the dragon tamer, and Rebecca, whatever she was, and kind of the dynamic they had. Their sort of workplace friendship was fun. In terms of TV that I enjoy, other than just sci-fi shows, I really only kind of like workplace comedies and ones without laugh tracks. So this kind of had that kind of feel to it, that kind of found familyness that you get kind of with coworkers when you have no life outside your job. The Grumpy Sunshine dynamic between the lead characters was well done too. If you really like Grumpy Sunshine, and I like Grumpy Sunshine, and aren't bothered by the stuff I'm going to talk about in a minute, you probably will really love this, because that's basically the main trope. There's lots of gentle teasing from Evie to Tristan. Yes, the villain's name is Tristan. And, her being overly bubbly and him being meh, 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 meh. And yeah, if you like that, you'll enjoy this. I liked that aspect of the relationship. But other than that, there wasn't too much else I enjoyed. Why did I keep reading? Well, it's short enough, and it was good for background stuff like cooking dinner. I just found this book was just kind of it was kind of lazy, and I kind of was insulted by that. What I mean? The world building is absolutely awful. It's incredibly inconsistent and doesn't know what it's doing. It's confused. Is it medieval? Is it gas lamp? Is it Belle Epoque? Is it Victorian? Is it some sort of weird hybrid? Like, I get it. It's a fantasy world. I understand. I read a lot of fantasy. I edit a lot of fantasy for my job. But you have to give some semblance of how things work in the world building for people to understand what's going on. You can't have a king and knights and blacksmiths and stuff, and then also have rubber, an education system, and a mass production of books, so much so that peasant children have them on hand. Or if you do, explain how that works. How does the industry function? How are they able to do these things? Why is it still feudal when they seem to have mass production? Okay, like here's what I mean. So I mentioned rubber. So yes, rubber is a natural product, but at one point there is a rubber hose in this book. Rubber in that capacity would require industrialization or mass production, but there's no real talk of factories or anything like that in this book. So where does this rubber hose come from? Who makes it? Are there other countries that are importing these hoses from? Are there other countries that are more industrialized than this place? Like, that would actually be really cool if this was kind of like a feudal state trying to keep itself that way, but then there's like other countries that are more industrialized. That would have been fascinating and interesting, but no, we have no idea. Tying into that, there are tons of anachronisms that make me think no one edited this book at all, or the author refused to accept some suggestions. The bomb, which comes up quite early, yes, there's bomb. I wasn't really sure made sense for the time period, at least the scale it was. And there was a moment when someone talks about speeding slightly while reading a horse. Are there speed limits on horses? Like, how would anyone be monitoring or checking that without like a radar gun? Speed limits require being able to accurately assess speed of travel, which you can't really do on a horse. Like, you can get the gist of it, but like speeding as a concept in this sort of a society is an anachronism. There were little things like that I'm just like, no one cares. They just don't care. The biggest thing, though, was the concept of the villain having an office and everyone working there as his staff. What are their jobs? We don't really know. Apparently there are a bunch of interns, but what are they interning for? What are they doing at the castle? If Tristan is this villain with a secret castle in the woods, how do these interns apply for this job? What filing does a villain need done in like a medieval society? There is absolutely no insight into what these people do all day other than the healer, or even what the villain does all day. It doesn't seem like he's doing much because all we see him do is talk to Evie and then go away on like mysterious missions. But what is his missions? Like, what is he doing? Like, we don't know what he's actually doing to be a villain aside from a few mentions of raising a town. I'm like, but how does that fulfill his goal? What is his goal? I don't know what his goals are. I have no clue what he's doing. What is the point of him? What is he doing? I understand why he's the villain. That's explained at the end. But what drives him? I like, anyway. Okay, I get the idea. It's like a workplace romance as well as a fantasy. I kind of liked that. If it were urban fantasy, like fantasy creatures existing in a modern day setting and they were in an office and stuff, okay, sure, that's totally cool. But having a modern office setting in what feels like a traditional Western medieval fantasy world was not explained. It just wasn't explained. And okay, I'm done talking about this. Going back to the king for a second, the king is supposed to be the antagonist, I guess, in this story. Really, we don't see him until the end. We don't really see any antagonists until the end when everyone's suddenly an antagonist. We have no idea how this king's government or socio-political structure works. Is it a constitutional monarchy? Is it a feudal lordship situation? What jurisdiction does the king have over his subjects, and are there stewards of each region, or what? If the villain kills the king, is that his goal? I don't know. What changes in society for the everyday person? I don't know, because we're never told anything about how society functions. There's just a little town, and then there's the villain's castle, and like kind of that's it, and like a forest at one point. Now, there's no real plot, to be completely honest. The story relies on miscommunication tropes set up as contrived mini episodes to move along the romance. It's very jumbled. There's no real tension regarding this like plot to take down the villain. I mean, obviously it's the king doing it. Like, I'm not spoiling anything, but there's no other antagonists mentioned in the book, so I wasn't really sure who I'm supposed to be worried about here. There is a plot twist at the end that was a little surprising, but also left me with more questions than answers. Questions about kind of the logistics of this. but I'm not going to get into it. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. Now, I will say Evie as a character is consistent and easy to define. She's the awkward, clumsy type, but has issues that work themselves out in ways that made her likable. She was a bit too, like, adorkable for me, but she was a consistent character. I will say that. She was not, you understood what drove her. She, was hot in the pants for the villain, and she wanted to, like, have money to save her family. Totally cool. She was actually fine. Yeah, like, I don't know. She was good. But her relationship with the villain just did not work for me. The Grumpy Sunshine, as I said, yes, that was well done. But the insta attraction was annoying. Mainly because the amount of time she checks him out is so incredibly repetitive. Like, it's beating us over the head with it. And, like, I get it. He's a smoke show. But him being a smoke show made it less interesting to me, as it's too easy for her to fall for him if he's hot. Given how slow burn this book is, having them fall for one another and develop attraction gradually would have worked better for me. It would have actually given the book a lot more attention instead of her being like, oh my god, he's so hot, but I don't like him because he's evil. It's like, you can find people attractive that are evil. Like, that's normal. You're kind of like, ew, when you think about it, but then you're also like, well, I can't help how my eyes see things. And then the fact that he thinks that she's hot, and the fact that he is attracted to her, but doesn't act on it because is her boss, makes sense because he's her boss. So the book also jumps forward very quickly in their relationship after their first meeting. So there's a few months gap and that we have to be like filled in on, which lent itself to a lot of telling and not showing as well. For example, he makes a joke for the first time, and that would have made more impact if we'd seen him not making jokes for quite a while, rather than her just telling us, oh my god, this man who never makes jokes. He never makes jokes, guys. You know that? He never makes jokes. He made a joke. I don't feel anything for this because I didn't see it progress. Then we had the thing, I'm almost done, I swear, that made me go, oh my god, what the hell? In fact, I was walking my dog. I remember vividly. I was trying to walk down this hill, and I was almost tripped down the hill because I was like, wait a minute. Okay, so romance readers, the book ends on a cliffhanger. You don't get the happy ever after or even happily for now. I'm telling you this because you're going to be disappointed too. Don't waste your time if you're hoping for spice. There is no sex in this book. Yeah, you heard me. They do not get it on. It's infuriating. I sat through all that shit and I didn't even get some bodice ripping. Like, come on. Like, what the hell are we even reading? What the hell are we even reading romance for? Like, clearly in this book, it's not for the world building. So, like, I was like, I am unsatisfied on every level with this book. There are so many times they have the perfect opportunity. They're alone. They're not busy. They're both attracted to each other and they don't do anything about it. It moves from anticipatory tension to eye rolling and then it moves to absurdity. They are not experienced at sex. Both of them have had relationships before. They aren't teenagers. They aren't forced to keep it in their pants due to some curse or something. It was the straw that broke the camel's back for me that we didn't even get, like, a sex scene. It's obviously why I'm not going to be reading book 2. I was just like, why? Who made the executive decision that they don't have a sex scene? Was there a sex scene and I missed it? Because I was, like, bored? I mean, that's possible because, I don't know. I don't think so. So there you go. A rare ranting book review from me. But seriously, though, like, I don't think it's a terrible book. I don't. I would give it, like, a 2 stars, 2.5 maybe, which is, like, low for me, but it's not like I hated it. If you're not pretentious about world building like I am, if you love Grumpy Sunshine, which I like, but it's not my favorite trope, and if you prefer slow burn romances that are so slow you might as well throw the brisket on, then I think you should read this book. I guess. I don't know. This is going to be one of those reviews that gets me a lot of, what do they call them? Like downvotes or, I don't know what they call them on this platform. But that's okay. Yeah, throw me some comments, some mad comments if you want. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's fine. I'm cool with it. As you can tell, I don't really care. So yeah, back on Thursday with a book that I actually enjoyed. And yeah.